This is a Spark 650B wheel size.
Yep, 27.5 plus, Spark 7. You guys try and do a quick
720. 2.8
2.8
width tire. Okay. Okay, I'm on the Scott Spark right now, and it's got this twin lock system. It locks out front and rear suspension, and I guess it changes the progressivity of the shock. So you're sitting up a little higher in the suspension as you climb on fully locked out. It's got a middle section, which is kind of sort of open, and it makes a difference. Locked out, it's sitting up a little higher in the stroke, a little more forward over the bottom bracket, I guess. Mid climb, now I feel a little more movement in the suspension. Now I'm in wide open. Still climbs well, but even a little bit more movement in the travel with the pedal. Yeah. Yeah. Whew. Okay, the cockpit here. Little, yeah, I mean, it's trail bike oriented, but it doesn't feel awful. It feels good. This bike's pretty sweet. I think I make a great trail bike. Climbs better than most bikes I've tried, so excellent climber. This is the Genius 920, I think. I'm in climb mode right now. Feels pretty good. On ultra lockout or complete lockout, it's a little harsh. I'm gonna try and make this climb. I just wanted to chime in here that this thing climbs so well, because of that twin lockout, dual lockout system. Man, I don't know, it's probably the best or one of the best climbing bikes I've ever ridden. Similar to the Yeti 5.5, but even like a little lighter feel on the climb. All right, I'm about to head down my first descent, which is D Trail, and I opened up the lockout, seats down, and let's see how the suspension feels going down. This little chunk, it's sucking that right up. Corner's pretty good. Oh. Woo! Yeah, this flies. Feels real good. Oh man, I'm liking this. Feels supple, eats up all this little stuff. Love it. Feels light. That suspension's really working here because this is not smooth, but it feels smooth. Yeah, this thing rails on the corners. Wow. I'm loving that. Okay, here's the climb. This thing climbs like a dream. It's probably the best climber I've ever been on. It's because of the dual lockout. It's just like yeah. It's amazing. It's a nice bike. Ha! It must be that fender I'm hearing. And it jumps really. I like this bike. It feels comfortable jumping. Might be falling in love here. Dead squirrel right in the trail. So comfortable going fast. Woo! So I'm on family vacation in San Diego. We rented a house a couple blocks away from the beach, and now we're relaxing in the sun, and I'm sure I don't look good, but I thought I would put together some final thoughts. I've got a nice cold sore here on my lips, so ignore that. I got to ride a Scott Spark 720, and I want to talk about that one first. I felt it was a really good trail bike. I'm not a fan of wide or plus size tires. The 2.8 wide tires have always just felt a little sluggish to me, and I get the benefit of those is traction and stability, but though it didn't feel sluggish, it felt like okay, maybe I could handle that size tire on that one on that bike, which has 130 mils in the fork and 120 millimeters of travel in the frame. Yeah, that's what it is, which is actually the same as my following in Beeb. And the difference of those two bikes was significant. Following feels like much more of a play around bike that you want to jump, and the Scott Spark felt lighter, a little quicker. I think it would even feel better if you didn't do the plus size tires on there, but the geometry wasn't quite as playful. It was a little more upright. It felt lighter. It felt like you could really climb. If you were a cross-country racer or you just wanted to go fast, that would be a good bike. A little undergunned if you were going to go on big stuff, I think. My personal preference is liking the Genius more, I think. So I got to demo that second. And by the way, both bikes had the twin lockout system, which
initially I looked at it as kind of like just a gimmick, where, you know, lots of bikes have a lockout on the shock, or a dampener on the shock. So you just flip the switch down there by the shock, and it dampens the suspension. But there was something about how it worked so well with this Scott, and on the Genius particularly, I liked that bike because you had two bikes in one, really. You could use the suspension lock to make it feel like an XC bike. And on the dirt roads, I was flying up those dirt roads in full lockout, and it felt really, really fast. You know, you get on the single track where there's more routes and trails, and then you want a little suspension for traction. So I would go to climb mode, or the middle mode, whatever that's called, and that felt really efficient too. Man, I just felt so fast. And then the other half, you open it up, and boy, it felt really controlled on the chunky, jittery stuff that maybe if you're going too fast on my following, it might just start shaking you a little bit or skipping along because there's not enough stroke on that shock. But with this Genius, boy, it was noticeable. It was an improvement. The geometry felt neutral and comfortable, and I felt at home on the little jumps and cornering, and it didn't feel like a large 29er wagon wheel type bike where it felt heavy. You could move it around. It didn't want to stick on a line. That was one thing maybe between the Yeti 5.5, a comparison was they both felt fast. However, the Yeti didn't want to change its line as easily. The Genius felt like you could move it around more, maybe. That's probably, and it felt a little more supple when you opened it up. I was just really impressed. I didn't expect to like the Scott Genius as much as I did. If you remember the first time you had a dropper post, and you just think, wow, before I had that, what was I doing before this? Well, that's how I felt about that lockout. I just thought, this is so good. And granted, it would be a great bike for the trails I ride, and that's probably where I'm coming from. The trails I ride are just steep climb, and then fast descent at the bottom. Then you're done. It's not a lot of flat. On the flat, that's probably not the best bike, because on sections of the flat trails, that Genius, if I had it open, it felt a little bit dull, because the 150 mil travels were sucking up all the little bumps, and I would probably ride it in climb mode on fast stuff. But then I'm sitting a little higher in the travel. That was the piece of the puzzle that I don't know how much I would like it on just more undulating flat stuff. But for the Canfield trails where I live, just climbing, and then fast chunky descents, boy, that was the perfect bike in my opinion. So that made it to my hit list over most of the bikes I can think of that I've ridden. I'm not going to get rid of my following for this bike, because the following is so unique, and it shines a lot on those flatter tracks or jump trails, flowy stuff, and just the geometry is a little slacker, and that's hard to match. I would recommend it, but you need to go demo them. I rode a size large in both bikes, and that felt comfortable to me. I don't feel like I needed an extra large. I didn't have to go up. I'm 6'1", 34-inch inseam. Got kind of long arms. So, yeah. If you have any questions, comment on the video, and I'll get back to you. If you like the videos, subscribe. Thanks.